Mother tongue is a native language peculiar to a culture or tribe. It is usually learned or acquired by exposure from infancy to adulthood. The mother tongue helps to develop and reinforce one's personal, social, and cultural identity. Scholars believe that language or mother tongue is the most important heritage of any ethnic group, used for communication and expression of the values, morals, and beliefs of a people. This is particularly true for a heterogeneous country blessed with diverse ethnic groups and cultures like Nigeria. Although English is the official language in Nigeria, there are hundreds of languages unique to different ethnic nationalities in the country, such as Yoruba, Okbe, Igala, Hausa, Isoko, Igbo, Efik, Bini, Nupe, Urobo, Izon, Jarawa, Bura, Tiv, to mention just a few. However, the influence of Western culture, or perhaps the love for it, is said to be relegating indigenous languages to the background, and a number of them are at risk of extinction unless the custodians rise up to the challenge of preserving the indigenous languages and passing them on from generation to generation. What factors threaten the preservation of our indigenous languages, and what are the solutions? This episode of the program is rich with different perspectives on the subject matter. Welcome to 30 Minutes on NTA News 24. I am Mitaire Ikmen. Some researchers believe that children can have a better grasp of educational curriculum when they are taught with the mother tongue. In our first report, we shall examine the significance of mother tongue in a multi-ethnic nation like Nigeria, the need for sustenance, and its place in today's educational curriculum. Lydia Sampson takes it up from here.
A language consists of words, their pronunciation, and the methods of combining them to be used and understood by people of a community. It is a system of sounds, written symbols, and signs used by people of a particular country, geographic area, or tribe to communicate with each other. Experts estimate that languages in the world vary between 5,000 and 7,000 depending on distinction between official languages and local languages or mother tongue. The mother tongue, also widely known as dialect or native language, is the indigenous language of one's parents or the language of one's ethnic group, and it is usually the first language learned. One's mother tongue usually indicates where he or she hails from.
This new generation, the current generation, it seems like no one really understands their mother tongue and the culture is dying. So it's really important for all of us to learn our languages, our mother tongues.
It can be very dangerous because I feel there are some places that there are some things your parents cannot say in English because maybe some implications might follow. So they have to say it in your language. And if you don't understand your language, it will be very difficult for her to say it at that moment. And it might be dangerous to you at that place.
Once again, mother tongue is an important thing that every child needs to learn. You need to learn it because it is very important. There are some things that are going on nowadays that if the children, they don't even know what is going on. When somebody says something like this insecurity that we have, and if a child knows his or her mother tongue very well, you will be able to understand whatever another person is saying and know that danger is coming. But because everybody is now speak English from the beginning, they don't know any other language. So when those other people are saying any other language, they just ignore because they don't even understand what they are saying. But it is very, very important that every child learn his or her mother tongue.
Mwachi means good morning. Abole, how you doing? Teach them how to speak my language because I know it will help them to be a better person in the society tomorrow. Because it's not all about English. English is a borrowed language. But when we learn our language, we get to adjust ourselves tomorrow.
I'm from Kogi State, Okun. So I can speak my own language because my own language is important to me than any languages. So, and I teach my children, and they can speak my language.
Naigbiama, Naigbiasa. What I mean, I say good morning, ma, good morning, sir. Language is very important. My dad make me to understand that during some crisis, I don't want to mention what happened then, that they were separating people that were not speaking their language from people that knows how to speak their language, their native language. So it makes him to really go deeply to make sure we know how to speak our mother language, which is our native language.
If mother language is often regarded as one's first language, by contrast, experts note that a second language is any language that one speaks other than his or her first native language. The mother language contributes immensely in a child's personal, social, cultural, and intellectual, and educational and economic lives. Personal in the sense of being critical to his or her identity. Social in the sense that when the native language of a child is not maintained, important links to family and other community members may be lost, and cultural in the sense that sustaining a child's mother tongue will help the child to value his or her culture.
We know it's part of our policy, especially even in general in Nigeria, your area, the language of your area is compulsory for the students in the school. But nowadays, because of lack of teachers, those things are falling off. Before, if you are a student, like we are here in FCT, the language of FCT is Gwari, supposed to be compulsory for all of them to learn, so that they can communicate within the community. Then, if you are now a Yoruba, you learn Yoruba again as a second language. An Hausa person will learn Hausa as a second language. But the language of environment is compulsory for all of them. But now, because of lack of teachers, and even now, some parents will tell you that do not compulsory other language for my child. Even the one that is my local language, they didn't know how to speak it. So we are having a lot of serious challenges.
I don't usually speaking my language that much. But the good thing is that my wife speaks my language very well, and you speak with the children. But me, I like speaking English with them, so that they will get used to both. Yeah, like I said, it's good for our children to understand our life. Part of the moral training you get. And besides, like I said, one of the reasons why I married my tribal woman is because this kind of a thing I'm talking about. Maybe if I'm not there, she also teach them. So they don't miss that from me because their mother's giving them that already. So it's good to let our children understand their language, their native, so that the background where they are coming from, that's what we call demography. You need to know where you are coming from, and get used to it. So it will help you so that even, like one of the advantage of that, like you're in public, you can be able to communicate without other people knowing what you're saying. So it's one of the advantage of try to let your children understand your own native language.
In terms of education, experts know that students who learn a second language and continue to develop their native language will have chances of higher academic achievements in later years than those who learn a second language at the expense of their first language.
It's good, for our children to hear our language because it's very important, because at times you like to talk to them when somebody is there, you don't want that person to understand what you are saying. So it's very good because it will help the children tomorrow. It's not too late. When you give birth to a child, you can start teaching them till they grow up. Even now, even if they are grown, you can still tell them. Teach them with time, they will understand it.
Those that they doesn't teach their children their own indigenous language, I can tell them that it's not good, because when they go out and they only speak English, when you teach your children, there's something that maybe you want to tell your children that you don't want other people to know. But when you speak your own language, then it will help to know what you are telling him or her. You understand me? Yes. But if it is only English, it's general language, which is everybody can speak. But if with your language, at least it will help your children to be coded with what you want to speak.
Experts reiterate that promoting and acknowledging mother language cannot be overemphasized, as they are the most powerful instruments required to preserve and develop heritage.
I feel it's never too late to learn your language. You can start now, or the parents can start when they are little, because when we are little, we tend to learn more faster and easier. So I believe parents can start teaching their children how to speak their language, and gradually we'll all learn. Because even me, I'm not still perfect, but at least I can speak a little bit.
For you to make your children to know how to speak your language very well, once they come back from school, you make sure you engage them with your language, because you are not paying school fees for them to learn your language in school, but you are paying school fees for them to learn other things, the subjects that are very important to them. Are you getting me? So it's a very important thing, so that the new generation will not lost out. So it's something that is a continuous something that we need to be speaking to our language, to our children to learn. Are you getting me? They put it in the scheme of work, and when I was writing my junior WAEC, I remember that time they were asking me questions in Edo language. What is the name of television? Ekpetuge. That is television. Ekpetuge. That is a box that has glass. Television has glass, right? And I passed it very well. They now ask me again, what is radio in Benin language? I say ekpetu taleme. That is a box that talk. Are you getting me? So it's very important.
Educationists have called on the National Assembly to enact a law that will ensure that every citadel of learning in Nigeria, from primary to tertiary level, offers at least one native language relevant to the area or community where the institution is situated.
As I've said it before, my advice is we should go back to the policy and ensure that we get teachers in those areas to give to the school, so that we can compulsory it on all of them, as English and mathematics are being compulsory as a core subject.
The role of mother language in scaling up moral, social and intellectual value, especially of younger generation, makes it imperative for everyone to enlist in the ongoing crusade to preserve, promote mother tongue language. Experts are optimistic that deliberate and conscious strategies will help prevent mother language disappearance.
Several factors are believed to be responsible for the relegation of our indigenous languages. What are these factors, and what are the implications for the individual and the nation? This next report by Thomas Ogbetere will reveal more.
The mother tongue is your identity. It reflects in what you eat, what you wear, the way you behave, even the way you make your hair. In fact, everything about you. So it is important because it reflects your background. It reflects everything about you, even the way your academic background. Your mother tongue will always reflect it. And in fact, it reflects whom your mother is. So that is probably maybe the reason why it is called mother tongue. So it is important because that is how you translate. It's your heritage. And nobody will say that his heritage is not important.
It's a major identity of any people. So, destroy the language, then you are destroying a major cultural element of those people. And you can see when the colonial masters came, through the policy of assimilation, we started speaking only English and forgot that we have a culture. And one of the elements is the language. So we are losing our heritage because the language itself is a vehicle through which we promote our cultural heritage.
Of identity, your social identity, your cultural identity, your political identity, and actually, in fact, the food you eat, that's a cultural, and loss of your heritage, and lack of respect. The implication is that you may not have respect for other people's language. That is why UNESCO said it's very important that we promote, create awareness, because the moment people know the import and begin to advocate for this mother tongue, they will now, the awareness will be there, and they will have respect for other people's culture. And another thing is that the tangible and intangible part of the culture will not be preserved, because you preserve culture better in your own indigenous language. And another thing is have knowledge, because when you, whether you like it or not, the language of your mother is in your blood. That's why when you go to the Hebrew, you go to Israel, they don't play with their language, because coming from anywhere in 1948, you will say that they came back 1948. But when you go to Israel, they are speaking their language, because that language, that is mother tongue, it runs in your blood. And if you dare try to learn, it is deeply rooted. That is what they call home intelligence. Learning will be a lot easier, and that is why it is, the advocacy is that preschool age, children will be taught with their own mother language. It helps them to learn fast.
A variety of factors underlying the threat or the probable extinction of such languages. First and foremost, I must commend government, because if we look at the educational development in Nigeria, these indigenous languages were part and parcel of the curriculum. Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa languages have always been taught. Even in Cross River, for instance, the Efik language was part and parcel. In fact, it was compulsory. But that was what government did and what government has been, the federal government has been promoting. But along the line, we don't know, many other factors crept in, and which are talking about extinction of the languages, one of which is parental attitudes. Most parents, educated parents, or the elite, so to speak, do not communicate with their children in the mother tongue. In fact, I think that informed the policy of Professor Balfour, the late Professor Balfour, when he came on board as a Minister of Education. He promoted indigenous languages. that should be used at the primary school level, junior primary school level, and so on. So if parents change their attitude towards this indigenous language, which they look at inferior, a factor of colonization, we feel that our languages are inferior to the English language, so they don't promote it. So it starts from the home. Federal government has done a lot to promote the languages, but at the level of the home, most parents don't speak the language, and it's a major problem or challenge.
Neoliteracy. People want to show that they are literate, and being literate means that you don't even need to speak outside, you don't need to speak Igbo, you don't need to speak Yoruba. You have to belong, you know. If you cannot even speak it, you can mix it with Pidgin. That's why we have accepted and adopted Pidgin. So neoliteracy. The second one is about not elitist life, wanting to show that you're literate when you are not, because the moment you speak, that accent would have taken you to where you are coming from. And the another thing is urbanization. I don't want to begin to expatiate, unless you want me. Another reason is educational policy. The policy of education that has actually played down on the mother tongue in the area of curriculum. Then you look at the area of urbanization. I have said it, mingling of people, mixing, and people will now find a middle line, or maybe you are moving from one part of the world to the other, or part of Nigeria to the other. You will want to identify with that, or maybe you were born in that environment or that urban area, and you people will find a central language that you speak. The other one is low parental upbringing, which is catching up with so many of us. Many of us are guilty of it. These are some of the, not all, but some of the factors. And because the policy has not supported languages, indigenous languages, literary works on indigenous languages are going down. So people are not writing to encourage children to read. And because it is not there in the curriculum, the children who are coming from the new literate, let me call them new literate people who feel that speaking English is the best way out of it. When they get into the school, from the preschool age, the teachers will be speaking for them English. And in some places, they will say, you want my school to be called Ibotic school. So, you know, speaking of any other language except English in this school. So these are some of the factors.
English is now a global lingua franca because of the huge investment towards propagating it around the world. So also is French and several other languages. Perhaps the most aggressively propagated in modern times is the Chinese language. And considering the influence of foreign languages, it will certainly take deliberate efforts, strategies, and investments to preserve and propagate indigenous languages for instruction and learning, as well as for the preservation of cultural heritage and for national development. Parents are advised to speak their local languages to their wards, and in this era of information and communication technology, encoding indigenous languages in instructional materials and even cartoons can go a long way to preserving them from generation to generation. Till we come your way again with another interesting episode of 30 Minutes, I am Itaire Ikben. Thanks for watching. Do stay safe and be well.